All right, so this Knife Thoughts EDC, or everything that doesn't cut video, is going to be on this flashlight, and this is the Convoy S2 Plus. So this is one of the more recommended budget 18650 EDC type lights out there. This is a light that you get either on AliExpress or from Banggood, places like that that sell items that are made and shipped from China, and you can buy them directly from the Convoy factory store on AliExpress, which is where I got this. They actually have a discount code, which is what I used. They're about $16 or $17 without the battery, something like that. About $20 with the battery. The battery I bought separately. You can also get them with a battery from Convoy. And it took only like 3 weeks for me to get this. I was actually pretty surprised by how quickly I got it. I got this and another Convoy light, the C8 Plus, at the same time, and only took literally 21 days. So I was happy with that. And it's an inexpensive light, about $20, something like that. So it's recommended as a budget EDC light, kind of moving into enthusiast lights, Now, speaking of that, this has several different options for the user interface. So there's different group options. So you can have 12 groups, then there's 8 groups, things like that. And then there's like a simple one too. I don't really think that there's any reason, if you're, getting this for yourself as an adult, to get anything but the 12 groups, because they're not that hard to figure out. Even if you are getting it as like a gift for a kid, you can set it so that it's only on the lower levels of brightness. So I really think that there's almost no reason to get anything except for the 12 groups. There might be some difference in the drivers that are associated with that. I am not very knowledgeable, or really knowledgeable at all, on drivers. So I'm not sure if it changes the brightnesses and things like that. They don't publish the brightnesses, but there are tests and reviewers and things like that that have tested the brightness on the different emitters and drivers and all that. But there's no real reason not to get the 12 groups. And what it is there's basically 12 different options of different brightnesses or user interfaces that you can do. I have this one set to have mode memory. So if I turn it on, I can soft click and it'll go to the next brightness here. And it's, I believe it's 1%, 20%, 50%, 100%, something like that. And that's all that I have on it. And now if I'm here and I turn it off, it'll come back to there. So that's what mode memory is. You can turn mode memory on and off for all of those groups. And some of the groups have things like strobe and battery checks. And I do like the battery check option, but I wish that there was a group that had the battery check option, but not the strobe and bike light. I don't need a bike light at all. I've never ridden a bike in a city. And things like that. And SOS, I don't really need an SOS on this. So I wish that there was the option to have the battery check, but not any of those other strobe or blinking type, options. But because there's not, I have it set to the group that I have it to. Now, another thing that I really, really wish that this user interface had, and I don't think that it does, I haven't been able to find it, is a direct to low, and direct to high. So if, for example, this light, the C8 Plus, is set to 1%, 20%, 100%, I believe, and no mode memory. So if I turn, it's actually 100%, 20%, 1%. So it's always going to start on this 100% in brightness. I wish that there was a user interface for Convoy that allowed you to go straight to the low, or on something like this that does have mode memory set to be in use, that you could go straight to the high, which there's not. So that's a pretty major downside to the UI on these for me. I think that it's really nice to have the option between low and high directly from off, Because if you have to turn this on and it's on mode memory, it starts real low like that, and you know, you have to get up to the brightness, and then you turn it on, you don't remember that it's on real bright, and it's, you know, you're in your bedroom or whatever, and it just like blinds you in the middle of the night. That is not ideal. So I definitely wish that it had direct to low and high in the user interface. So it's nice to have those 12 different options, but I would be more happy with, you know, having the direct to low and high and the battery check without the strobe. And it also would be nice to have a ramping user interface. This does not have the option for ramping. Now, one thing it does have the option for is add-ons. So I actually didn't realize, but this one that I got came with a clip and a lanyard. But you also have the option to buy a clip separate, which I did, thinking that this didn't come with a clip. But then you also have the option to get a clip that screws into these holes, or to get a magnetic ring that can go in here so that you can, you know, magnet it to things. And other things like that. There are a bunch of options that you can ask. Simon is apparently who builds these, and they'll do, you know, kind of customization. Now, as for the brightness, it's definitely adequately bright. It's, you know, it's a nice bright light for sure. No real complaints on that, being that it's, you know, relatively small 18650 single emitter light. I don't have a problem with the brightness. It does, you know, put off a lot of heat on this actually. And there's a lot of different emitter options. I think which one you go with is going to depend on how you want to use it. I highly suggest, and I'll put a link to it in the description, checking out the wiki that a user on Reddit, Tactical Grizzly, has made about buying Convoy lights. Super, super helpful, and will help you to choose what emitter you go with. So I definitely suggest that. I'm not knowledgeable on that. I went with this one because it was, you know, a good all-around EDC type. This is the SST 40 or 20, one of those, whichever one they recommend. So go check out Tactical Grizzly's wiki and go with whichever one fits what you're looking to do with the light. But it's definitely adequately bright. The tint is pretty good. You can see that there's some green. That's actually from the glow-in-the-dark ring. So you can see that there's a ring there. And then there's also a little bit of purple, and I kind of feel like that's actually from the lens. Not real sure, but it, you know, it's just going to depend on your emitter. Now, as for the build quality of the light, it seems pretty good. It can unscrew at the head here. I'll show you these threads. Kind of typical, good threads. It, you know, obviously can unscrew at this end, and then it has some knurling, and I want to see if I can show this knurling. So it's actually, you know, cross-hatched, and then there's some machining within each little diamond. So it's not the most aggressive at all because there's not big spaces between them, but it gives a little bit of texture to it. I actually think for me it could be a little bit more aggressive, but it's well done either way. Now, my thoughts overall on this is that I think that this is a good, inexpensive light. Now, one thing to be aware of, you either have to buy it with a battery and a charger. You know, you can't, there's no onboard charging. Which I do like. I don't really generally like onboard charging because the silicone plugs that they use to make most onboard charging ports waterproof are basically garbage. They fall off really easily. So you will have to get either one that comes with a battery and then also get a charger, or have a charger. But I think that it's a good, relatively cheap light, about $20. But I think that there are better options. I think that if I was going to get an EDC light and it was the only one I was going to get, I'd rather get something that's about $30 like this, or, you know, there are other around $30 options that are highly recommended on, you know, that you can get just on Amazon, you know, rather than having to order it from China. So for a pure EDC, if you're just buying a light because you need a good light, I honestly wouldn't realistically recommend this. But what I do think this is good for is for modification. People like to get these and modify them, do different things to them, and I think that that might be a good option for the Convoy S2 Plus. But it's so recommended that I really wanted to try it, and I'm glad that I did. The nice thing is, like I say, even if it's not the best light for me, I'm only out about $20, and I think that it's something that you could give to somebody who's not a big light aficionado, and they would be really impressed by it. So that might be what I do, although I dropped it and got some kind of chips or whatever on here on the head. But if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. You can also check out my social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Knife Thoughts. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you know when I post new videos. And check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles mostly on knives, but also on EDC items like this. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.